silhouette is like a thin red line, cutting the top of the Maremma's gentle hills, and from a distance, through the vineyards, its tower evokes a medieval landscape. This is Rocca di Frassinello, the winery that the world-renowned architect Renzo Piano has created for Paolo Panerai in a first-ever alliance between Italy and France for the production of wines. An alliance in which the Bordeaux culture of Domaine de Rothschild marries the noble heritage of the best Tuscan wines. Rocca di Frassinello emerges in front of the village of Giuncarico, part of the Gavorrano municipality in the heart of Maremma. A short distance from the Mediterranean coast, this vineyard enjoys an ideal microclimate. In fact, the temperature excursion of this land, fundamental for the quality of its wines, is superior to the one of the Chianti and Montalcino area, while benefiting from the same geological footprint, rocky soil, rich with skeleton, ideal for the vines. Six years after the birth of the project, the inauguration that took place on June 30th has been the occasion for revealing the secrets of the cellar to enologists and distributors, as well as a selected number of wine professionals, specialized media, and famous names of Italy's financial and business arenas. The Rocca di Frassinello project marks the first time in which Renzo Piano accepts the challenge of designing a winery with its cellar. If the 40-year-old friendship with Paolo Panerai was a decisive factor, a further motivation was the love for wine that the great architect inherited from his father.
Quando venimmo qua la prima volta, un po' di anni fa, su questo poggio c'era un rustico in rovina.
When we came here the first time, on this plot of land there was a watchtower in ruins, and it was immediately clear to us all that this was an amazing land and that the view was incredible. The project of the terrace took shape almost instantly. The courtyard, as we called it, would be the receiving place for the grapes, then they would filter down into the steel tanks through chutes, and then proceed again down to the cellar, to the barrels.
Nella barricheria che è scavata nella roccia, quindi è una cantina fatta con una semplicità enorme.
It's actually a very simple idea. The barrels are where they should be, in the rock, in the right conditions in terms of humidity, at constant temperatures and well isolated.
Temperatura costante, ben isolante, come è giusto che sia una cantina.
The barrels you see are only the half what can be held here in this space, sort of like an auditorium. I've designed auditoriums before for spectators. Never before I've done it for barrels that sit like spectators, watching.
Le idee di funzionalità non vengono mai da sole, cioè si accoppiano sempre con qualcos'altro.
Functional ideas never come alone. They are always accompanied by something else. Here it was to make a terrace that would have a beautiful view of Maremma, of these hills that are at times foresty towards north and at times rich with vines towards south.
Ricche di vigneti, che sono quelli che si trovano verso sud e che adesso si completeranno, quindi la vista da qua.
So here the view is undisturbed. You can walk on the courtyard that is really a plateau, and you can see a close horizon, that is the railing, and a far horizon, which is the hills.
Come dire, un orizzonte vicino che è quello del parapetto, e poi ce n'è uno lontano, lontanissimo.
And this gives a sense of the infinite, in a metaphysical way, an idea of the distance. So this line with the railing and terrace, and plays with the softness of the hills.
La terrazza o del parapetto sostanzialmente gioca con il movimento delle colline.
Rocca di Frassinello produces 3 wines, all of assemblage between the principal Tuscan vine Sangioveto and the variation of classic French vines. The entry wine is Poggio alla Guardia. The second label is Le Sughero di Frassinello, and the Grand Vin of the cellar, called Rocca di Frassinello.
Un vino di grandissima eleganza, in quanto appunto almeno il 60% è prodotto con Sangioveto.
It is a very elegant wine. 60% of the assemblage is Sangioveto, which is the principal wine of Chianti that helps to give that elegance as well as the intense floral taste, making this wine one of its kind. This space is enriched by the French wines Cabernet and Merlot that give it that touch of structure and body and make it unique for this area.
E di corposità che lo rende appunto un vino unico per questa zona.
For the partners Domaine Baron de Rothschild, Rocca di Frassinello is more than just another alliance for just another wine.
We can produce the best wine by the blends, and our culture of the wine is always to make wines by blendings. And in this wonderful area, looking potentially good for many grapes variety, we have decided to make the marriage of the Italy with the Sangiovese and with the French variety like Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot and some Syrah, to produce very interesting wines, more complete, more complex in taste, to be with a product that everybody can recognize as something special in the world.
This very special Tuscan project was applauded not only by wine connoisseurs, but by experts of the sector.
Va molto bene che noi ci alleiamo con la Francia, in questo caso una joint venture tra il gruppo Panerai.
It is good that we ally Italian wines with French wines. In this case, the marriage between Paolo Panerai and Éric de Rothschild, who owns Château Lafite and many other wineries around the world, makes it an international wine.
Ovviamente è un fatto molto positivo, come dicevo.
A good alliance that helps boost the reputation of Italian wines on an international level, as well as the Maremma wines. So overall a good project and also technically a good
I
wine.
vini di queste parti, senza nulla togliere al livello qualitativo che comunque esiste.
We work with this guy more than 3 years, and we are very happy work with this company. And now it's a very pleasure to me take a part on presentation of new vineyards, and I'm sure that this wine in Russia found clients, because in Russia market is growing very fast, and I hope in future we buy this wine big volume.
The 600 guests were able to taste the three wines with the accompaniment of a unique menu prepared by two world-famous chefs like Sirio Maccioni of Le Cirque New York and Lorenzo Viani.
Nel primo piatto abbiamo fatto un piatto di mare un po' con del tartufo.
The first dish was fish-based, but it was sprinkled with truffle to create the right base for the first wine. The second dish was very Tuscan, and at its heart were two very typical beans, like the Farro della Garfagnana and red Solana beans, to match the unique taste of these wines.
Questi altrettanto grandi vini.
La cosa di oggi è stata una pazzia completa, spero che sia abbastanza riuscita.
Today's event was crazy. I mean, cooking for 600 people is very risky. It took courage, but I'm glad I did, and I think it went well.
Sono contento di averlo fatto perché è andata abbastanza bene.
Among the guests, Marco Tronchetti Provera and Cesare Gironzi, chairman of the Surveillance Council of Mediobanca.
It is an amazing amphitheater, a barrique amphitheater.
Then there was Francesco Micheli, Carlo Purinegri, Paolo Cuccia and Diego Della Valle, chairman of Tod's.
Parla da sola, no? Io poi sono arrivato.
Well, speaks for itself. I arrived from the air and it's beautiful and non-invasive and looks as though it always been here. It was a wonderful idea to do this project so large, yet so creative and harmonious. I find Renzo Piano did an amazing job, and so did Paolo Panerai, who commissioned it. A demonstration that it's possible to build respecting the land and using materials from the area. My compliments to them both.
Complimenti a loro.
And Luigi Abete and Lorenzo Binismaghi, Italian member of the European Central Bank.
Posto meraviglioso, la combinazione tra cultura.
This is a gorgeous place and a combination of culture, wine, land and business. A demonstration that investing in the land is good for business as well for culture and history.
Ma anche dal punto di vista storico e culturale.
The elite of the Italian winery world also took part in the event.
Tutti, come si suol dire, diciamo, a bocca aperta.
We are all in awe. The architect Renzo Piano has done an incredible job, as much as Paolo Panerai's enthusiasm and will that are vital for the wine business.
Costanza di Paolo Panerai, le aziende ci vuole tanto costanza a farle. L'ho vista nascere, l'ho vista crescere,
I followed this winery since its birth and I've seen it grow. It's a spectacular idea and place. First of all, this area is a magnificent one for wines, and second of all, the idea of having convinced Renzo Piano to design it, well, that's a glory for this company as well as a glory for all Italian wine. We are all very proud.
Non solo è una gloria per questa azienda e per la proprietà, ma anche una gloria per tutto il vino italiano, e quindi noi siamo particolarmente lieti e felici.
With Rocca di Frassinello, Paolo Panerai expands his activities in the wine industry to go beyond the already established success of Castellare di Castellina in Chianti.
Io avevo acquistato un podere per espandere.
I had bought this land to extend my production of Castellare di Castellina in Chianti. And one day, as I was having lunch with Eric de Rothschild for other reason at the restaurant Gambero Rosso, we came upon the topic of my land, and so he came to see it.
Eric de Rothschild, gli ho parlato che avevo comprato questo podere, lui è venuto a vederlo, gli è piaciuto molto.
He loved the area and the land, and he told me that he would be interested in the project if I was able to buy up more plots to make a sizable firm. This, of course, is important since the wine industry is based on the land, so you must buy up as much as you can, because if you are successful, the competition will try to buy land close to you. And so I did.
Terreni per non rischiare poi dopo che hai successo gli altri che comprano intorno.
We now have 500 hectares, of which 250 can be used for planting vines. And so far we have planted 85 to 90 hectares.
Piantati 85-90. Possiamo essere soddisfatti per i risultati che i vini hanno raggiunto.
We are very satisfied by the results that the wines have already reached. We have a rating of 94 out of 100 by Robert Parker, #1 in the world, and the same rating from Wine Review, that is the most visited website after Wine Spectator.
Wine Review, che è il sito più visto nel mondo dopo Wine Spectator. E quindi diciamo la cosa importante.
It was important to reach these results because agriculture is very uncertain. In theory, you think things should work, but in reality they might not. We are lucky that they work.
Ma in pratica potrebbe non funzionare, per fortuna ha funzionato.
But in this case, the winery will be a public landmark not only for those interested in wine in its land, but for its importance in architecture.
Beh, Renzo è un amico da 40 anni, il primo articolo.
Renzo Piano has been a friend for 40 years. I actually published the first article about him. At the time I was working in Genova at the daily Il Secolo XIX, and I heard about an unusual architect that had designed a very strange building with no windows. It was for the headquarters of his father's business.
Ero andato a vederlo e quando ero entrato dentro.
I went to see it, and the light that was coming from above, through a beehive-like structure that he later used again, was amazing, almost magical.
Quasi magico, e quindi è nato già lì questo rapporto. Poi quando lui ha vinto il premio per costruire il Beaubourg,
he later won a bid for the Beaubourg project with Rogers. Everyone talked about Rogers and nobody about him. So I did a big story about him at Panorama, the weekly I worked at that time. From then on, we stayed in close touch and became friends, also because we shared similar passion like sailing.
Passioni comuni come la barca a vela, e è stato più volte in copertina sui nostri giornali. E poi sapevo che aveva questa.
In the course of these years, I've followed his work closely, and we, as Classe Editori, have had him on several of our covers. I knew he liked wine and that his father had a winery near Ovada that after his death was sold since Renzo traveled a lot and couldn't take care of that business at all. His concept of winemaking was aligned to mine, and that is making wine without pressure, rather by gravity. And so the cellar was built with this concept.
Quindi non viene violentata, e infatti la cantina è stata costruita con questo concetto.